Terrifier is one of the most fascinating and yet controversial modern horror IPs that has come out in recent memory. I found when looking at discussions about these films that most people tend to fall into one of two categories. They either adore the films and love everything that went into them, or hate them and cannot stand the mere mention of them. While I genuinely do understand both sides of this whole argument, I've always been one of the people who loves Terrifier. Ever since I saw the 2016 film, I found myself deeply fascinated by this series and the depravity of its main antagonist, Art the Clown, who I consider to be my absolute favorite slasher villain. Not only do I just think it's really cool that my generation has a real legitimate horror icon who came from a low-budget indie film that's found success, but I also truly believe that Art the Clown is the single scariest slasher villain the genre has to offer. And no, I don't think that because of the intense gore and brutality these films are known for, but rather something I don't see talked about enough with Art the Clown. The reason I think this character is so incredibly scary every time he's on screen has everything to do with unpredictability. Art the Clown is the single most unpredictable slasher villain, and it makes him both a treat to watch and terrifying at the same time. To show you what I mean, I really want to hone in on that original 2016 movie because I believe this film has the most clear-cut example of what I'm talking about. In this original film, we see perhaps the most straightforward slasher movie setup a film can have. Two drunk girls on Halloween night find themselves being stalked by Art the Clown, who ends up drugging and kidnapping them, taking them to a nearby abandoned garage where your typical run-of-the-mill slasher sequences occur. This entire film shows right away that it has a deep understanding of the genre and its tropes by having this entire plot revolve around them. The entire reason the two girls get kidnapped at all is because of their car being stuck in place, which is already a super common trope in these films. Art chases characters around with whatever random improvised weapons he stumbles across, like every slasher villain before him, and of course, the primary target he chases after, Tara, takes up the role in the plot of a final girl archetype character. Tara is clearly conveyed early on to be the object of the killer's obsession, a dynamic the final girl often has with the killer in these films. She's shown to be smarter and more resourceful than the other victims Art kills throughout, and when chasing her, Art is given a real run for his money because she actively fights back against him. This dynamic between the two characters eventually culminates in this one moment where it feels like the film has reached its climax. Tara has escaped Art several times, has done some real serious damage to him, and seemingly wounds him to the point he can't fight back anymore when suddenly... in one abrupt moment, the film completely and totally strays away from all the tropes that it previously followed, with Tara being completely killed outright by Art, who spent the entire film carrying a concealed firearm. This moment completely subverts any and all expectations a seasoned slasher fan may have going into it, and that is what makes it so insanely effective. In this moment, not only do we realize that this film is perfectly fine with killing quite literally anyone it wants, with normally accepted tropes playing no true part in who gets to live or die, but also that any form of limitations we thought Art abided by were a result of false pretenses. Generally, in slasher films, a killer using a firearm is a clear-cut no-no that 90% of these films follow. Usually, as stated prior, the villain carries around some kind of improvised melee weapon. Something that makes the kills gory in nature, but allows for the characters to fight back and eventually overcome their pursuer. Jason wields a machete, Michael Myers wields a kitchen knife, Ghostface has a hunting knife, Leatherface has a chainsaw, etc., etc. Art following this trope to a T until this moment shows that he was purely playing with his food, giving them the feeling they could fight back only for his sick amusement. In reality, Tara never had a chance because, as shown here, the moment Art lost the upper hand, he simply used a more effective weapon and killed her without a second thought. From the moment this scene happens and Art's true colors are shown to the audience, it really changes the way you view him in scenes going forward. Every character now feels like they're at his whim, with them only continuing to live because of his own sick sense of amusement, which, might I add, is perfectly conveyed thematically by the fact that this character is a clown. Clowns in horror are a character archetype I've always loved, but also found myself to be decently picky about. I always felt that the main appeal of this type of horror villain is that feeling of unpredictability I've been talking about. Clowns are a type of performer that at their core are supposed to be funny, so when they're twisted and turned into something more sinister, it becomes hard to actively read their intentions, which, at least to me, is why so many people are so scared of them. It's the fear of the unknown. This idea is why I find myself to be so picky about clowns in horror despite liking them so much. In my opinion, if you lean too much one way or the other, you lose the creepiness that makes using a clown work in the first place. Make the clown too overtly scary and it doesn't really feel like a clown at all. Make them too funny and, well, I'm sure you can tell why a clown being too funny in a horror movie wouldn't work. It is a fine line, and I love Art so much because it feels like he is a character who break dances on that fucking line. This character is like a Looney Tunes cartoon given homicidal tendencies. Every time he's on screen, especially after the scene we just discussed with Tara, you legitimately do not know what he's going to do. One moment he'll be seen killing someone in such a brutal fashion that merely describing it would be enough for my entire channel to be demonetized, and the next he'll find a tiny tricycle and start riding it around when nobody's even watching just because he finds it funny. He is a horror villain that actually truly embodies being a clown, and that makes him so incredibly scary to me. And the thing is too, this is just using the first film as an example. Every Terrifier film that follows this film just ups its game from the last. This character becomes funnier in the absurdity of what he does, but his kills become more grotesque and horrific with every entry, which only makes me more terrified of him because every time you think he can't possibly get worse, he really does. Which is a double-edged sword when it comes to these films, unfortunately. That is largely why I think these movies are so controversial in online discussions compared to a lot of other films that make up the same genre. The sheer brutality of them makes it hard for a lot of people to see them as anything other than pure torture porn, which I think is a bit unfair to the films, but I can't really blame people for thinking that. If these films aren't for you, then that is 100% valid. I just think it kind of sucks that because of this preconception about Terrifier many people have, a lot of the nuances in the writing and portrayal of Art the Clown and the series' other characters like Sienna kind of get lost. I think Art is a scary villain for reasons outside of just the gore he's associated with. These films understand slasher tropes perfectly, knowing how to use them effectively and when to stray away from them to make their villain as unpredictable as possible. Art is just as hilarious as he is horrific because of this deep understanding of the genre, which thematically fits given the fact that he is a clown. He is my favorite slasher villain ever, and I hope by watching this video you were able to gain maybe a bit more of an appreciation for him. And if y'all enjoyed this, I would absolutely love to talk about this series more in depth in the future because I have a lot to say about all the Terrifier films. I love these movies a lot. Anyway, though, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I cannot wait to see you here for whatever my next project ends up being. Goodbye for now. Hey, so thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you're hearing this right now, that means the world to me. Terrifier, funnily enough, is a film that I want to cover on here for quite a while. but I kind of had to build up the courage to actually do so because I know that there tends to be a lot of discourse around this movie online, especially last year. But, you know, I figured, you know, it's my channel. I kind of wanted to just do it because I'm so passionate about the subject. So, yeah. I mean, I guess if you're watching to the end, that means you enjoyed it. I'm just speaking here at this little end blurb to let you guys know about two things. First of all being that I am currently selling a U2's plushie that you can buy over at U2s.com. It is available until November 7th. I am super, super happy about it. It is the cutest, most like on-model merchandise I've ever sold, and I really love the design. And if you want to just support me in other ways, I have a code over at GamerSupps right now that'll get you 10% off any of your GamerSupps orders. The code is just Pastra. There should be a link to it in the description. Currently, GamerSupps is selling a spooky, macabre Halloween collection that I'm sure, you know, any of you watching this video might be interested in. So yeah, if you want to support me by either getting the plush before it's gone or just using my GamerSupps code, that would mean the world to me. I'll leave links to both in the description. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.